Geopolitical rivalries are set for an airing in Bali in November, with Indonesia's president confirming that China's Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin will attend the G20 summit on the island resort. Their attendance opens the opportunity for meetings with US President Joe Biden. The backdrop of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and tensions between Washington and Beijing over Taiwan will be a tough test of diplomacy. Mr. Putin has reportedly agreed to attend in person, while Chinese officials are keeping details of Mr. Xi's attendance quiet for now.
中方重视20国集团作为国际经济合作主要论坛的重要作用，全力支持印尼主持召开20国集团巴厘岛峰会，愿同印尼加强协调配合，确保峰会取得圆满成功。如果有相关的消息，我们会适时发布。
Let's get back to Olivia Xiong, who joins us once more live from Beijing. Olivia, apart from tension over Taiwan, China's ties with Russia, they also remain a sore point amid this war in Ukraine. How is Beijing likely to balance strategic talks at the G20 meeting?
Well, we could very well see some fireworks at this G20 meeting if indeed we see the leaders of China, Russia, the US all coming together in Bali. What we do know, we don't know if Mr. Xi will indeed meet his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin. But what we do know is that both countries, China and Russia, have continued to draw closer to each other as both continue to face deteriorating ties with the US and other Western countries. China and Russia, as we know, have declared a no-limits partnership. China has refused to condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It has spoken out against Western sanctions on Russia as well. Both sides continuing to cooperate, even as China faces pressure from the US and the West to do more to rein in Moscow. Also, even with warnings from the US that there will be consequences if China were to help Russia amid this war in Ukraine. At the same time, we've also seen Moscow stand with Beijing. It has come out to criticize that recent trip by U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to Taiwan, which has really angered Beijing. And as we've seen, China conduct those unprecedented military drills around Taiwan, as it has also cut off cooperation and dialogue on the military front with the U.S. All this coming ahead of that potential meeting that has been talked about between the Chinese President Xi Jinping and his U.S. counterpart Joe Biden, which would be a first in-person meeting for these two leaders at the G20 summit or on its sidelines. But these talks are likely to be very tense because besides Taiwan, which both sides are butting heads over, China sees its red line has been crossed. Both countries also had already been having tensions over a range of other issues, whether it's trade or over alleged human rights abuses. So certainly it's going to be a very tense situation that the world will be watching. And also domestically, we know that if Mr. Xi were to attend this G20 meeting in Bali, this could very well be his first overseas trip that he is making since the pandemic began more than 2 years ago. And he would be coming off a fresh, unprecedented term in power, most likely after that Communist Party Congress that only takes place twice a decade that we're expecting later in the fall. And so Mr. Xi likely wanting to portray his leadership and his strength amid this superpower rivalry.
Olivia, thank you very much for that. Olivia Xiong there in Beijing.